And we are live.
Boom.
Boom. Finally.
Long time coming.
I know. How you been, brother?
Yeah, man. Good. Good. Enjoying some chai. And
So,
I'm feeling very grateful for the incredible warmth we are experiencing up here in Toronto.
contrast and comparison is always interesting, right? Warmth in comparison to what?
Like
minus 25. It's like, oh, it's -5.
minus
It's so
30.
warm.
Yeah, it's minus 30. Well, really, it's funny because I was talking to somebody in the States a couple of days ago, and I said at minus 30, it doesn't matter if it's Fahrenheit or centigrade. It's just fucking cold. It's the same. Right. That's where the Fahrenheit scale meets the Celsius scale, and gotta say, feeling very happy for the contrast today.
And I always say, like, I always tell this joke. I told this before. I'm like, if the theories are correct that we evolved from Africa, and if you and I were like the first Bushmen going from Africa into Europe, the minute I felt that cold, I'm like, yo, guys, we fucked up. We made an epic mistake.
Yeah. Go back.
We go back, bro. Like, we fucked up royally, man. This is horrible. I am going back.
Go back.
But then you got to think about like how fucking bad it must have been in that geographical area of Africa for them to be like, yo, I'd rather be freezing my nuts off right here than go back.
Yeah.
Because they stayed there, bro. They stayed there. They froze their fucking nuts off as opposed to going back to the sun.
Yeah.
So it's crazy, man. I don't know.
I don't know what the reason is, but there must have been a very compelling reason. Some motivation right there.
Bro, we know for a fact that vitamin D in the sun makes you healthy. Like, for fuck's sakes, you look at the blue zones today.
Yeah.
What's the number one thing they have in common? There's like two things they have in common. The first thing, they all live in a warm climate. A lot of vitamin D and sun. Second thing in common, they have a lot of omega-3 in their diet. More or less like on the pescatarian side of things.
Interesting.
Yeah, man. Well, think about it. Look how fucking depressing it is. Like, look at like northern latitudes of countries. Scandinavian countries, Russia, Canada included. You know, I think statistically speaking, we probably have one of the highest rates of suicide and depression in the world. Like, we don't get fucking.
We gotta look at the stats here. Yeah.
Yeah, we don't get vitamin D, bro. Like, look at Vancouver, or look at like what's that place, Finland or Switzerland? Well, I don't know where it is. It's one of those that like doesn't get sun at all.
Yeah. Well, people just live there because taxes are high and you get taken care of.
Fuck that. I don't want to be taking care of anybody, man. I take care of myself. Fucking no one tells me what to fucking do.
Yeah. Well, I hear that for both of us, this is going to be our last winter in the cold, at least.
Amen to that, brother.
A good time.
Fuck, get a G5 jet and get the hell out of here.
Yeah,
you know,
a good time.
So yeah, man, I wanted to talk to you about one specific thing that you and I always banter about. Plant medicines, man.
All right, let's talk about it. What do you want to talk about?
I want to talk about two specific things when it comes to plant medicines.
Okay.
Number one, we'll go step by step. Number one, if somebody wants, because the number one question I get from a lot of people, and I send them to like MAPS and different organizations.
Sure.
But number one question that I get from people when it comes to plant medicines is, how do I start?
Okay. Okay. Well, couple of things. So this is actually I might just write something about this because this is a pretty common thing. You just send them to like one link or one video, one something, and they have kind of access to it. So this is something that it's I just thought about it, like this might be something valuable to do. So first, you start by understanding what's going on, because if this is kind of new to your environment, it's new to kind of who you are, chances are there's some information that you don't know about what these substances are, how they work, how they don't work, etc. So the first step is to get aware, become aware of what it is you're dealing with. What are the rewards? What are the risks? What are how does this whole thing work? And so I think the first concept to understand is like the baseline concept, right? So let's say we draw a line clearly, and that's the baseline of your awareness, right? So and the way I look at substances, plant medicines, pharmaceutical drugs, whatever, right? They fall either above the line or below the line. So let's take alcohol, for example, right? Alcohol is a pretty shitty drug. Alcohol is responsible for something like 18 million deaths in the United States alone every year. Just is that 18 million? Just a crazy number. It's a crazy number. I don't quote me on that number, but it's just like if you look it up on Google.
Yeah, I'll look it up right now. Yeah.
I remember it being like pretty high. And typically what it does is it reduces the baseline of your consciousness. It gets you less aware. It gets you more impulsive. It, maybe the first drink or two might get you a little bit uninhibited, but the more you drink, like you can get so unaware, you can pass out. The consciousness like dims to the point where it becomes like you pass out, you're done. And so alcohol would go under that baseline. And you have substances that are on the baseline, like coffee, right? Sometimes, depending on your phenotype, and you know this a little bit more than I do, depending on your genotype and phenotype, coffee can be useful to you, or it can be neutral to you, or it can be not useful to you, right? Depending on your situation. And then you have stuff like crystal meth. Clearly, it drops your baseline. It affects the reward systems of your brain, that kind of thing. And it's not something you want to do, right? Heroin, crystal meth, fentanyl, this whole opioid epidemic that's really been sweeping a lot of North America. It fucks you up, basically. So you don't want to do it. Same thing with Ritalin or Adderall. It's meth at a very tiny quantity. So it reduces your baseline. It might make you feel like you're a bit better right now, but it overall reduces your baseline. Above your baseline, there are substances, and this is amazing, this has been around for thousands of years, that increase your baseline of consciousness, that add awareness to you. And so the reason coffee is on the right on the baseline, it can be slightly above or slightly below, is because for some people, coffee is a performance enhancing drug. And for some people, the same people, it might actually affect them longer term. They have the crash, or they have the headaches, or whatever, the caffeine headaches you call them, right? Now, above the baseline, you have substances like MDMA and psilocybin and LSD and ayahuasca, peyote and San Pedro and Iboga, and 5-MeO-DMT. Like, you have all of these substances, this range of stuff that starts to open you up to more awareness, more of access to self-awareness, which I think, apart from health and the connection and depth of family, like I deeply wish self-awareness for everybody around me. The shit is awesome, and especially self-awareness is really valuable to learn, to grow, to be able to use awareness to move through life in a beautiful way. Everyone I really respect tends to have a lot of self-awareness. And so first, recognize there are things above the threshold and things below the threshold. In the classification of medicines above the threshold, I tend to go by the classification that I first learned from Dr. Van Engel, who's just like a pretty significant researcher in the States that talks about plant medicines, and it's quite he has a very clear, beautiful way of describing it, which is there's level 1, there's level 2, and there's level 3. And the levels are they talk about intensity. It's about the intensity of experience. It's also about, it would be foolhardy to start at level 2 instead of level 1. Like, this is not a game, this is not a competition. Like, it's just different levels of intensity of experience. And it would be, like, again, not advisable to start at level 3, for the sake of your own consciousness and your own kind of journey. So level 1 substances are essentially, MDMA, which we'll get more into. We got LSD, which was, the drug of the choice in the 60s, and psilocybin, or magic mushrooms. And that's what people call shrooms sometimes. And that is a designation that is hated by Paul Stamets, who is
I know.
hates it so much.
I can understand it from a a scientific perspective.
For sure. And Stamets is the man. For anybody listening,
I fucking love the dude.
The guy is incredible. So
yeah, he's got.
If you guys are interested in kind of checking something out, so he did an interview with Joe Rogan, which I consider like one of the best interviews he's ever done. And Rogan's a fantastic interviewer, and the amount of times Rogan got his mind blown is substantial.
Neurogenesis.
So that's a really good one. So those are level ones. Level one is it's the fun zone. It's the fun zone, which means you're not puking typically, right? You are generally you can have fun with them. It doesn't have to be therapeutic necessarily. You can have a overall fun experience with them. You can have a recreational experience with them. And they can also be very insightful in help in personal growth and change and all of this stuff. So to start, if someone's looking for an entry point, MDMA would probably be the ideal entry point, right? So what is MDMA? So before we get into that, let me just cover level 2 and level 3. So level 2 is the facilitated stuff, right? It's deeper shit, basically. So again, if you haven't had a few rounds of level 1, it's unnecessary to go to level 2 unless you have an addiction, unless you have a real fundamental psychological need to improve or to grow. If you have a heroin addiction, for example, right? He goes straight to level 3. This is a medical emergency. It's like a psychological emergency, right? So this person just given up on life, they've given up on life, their family has given up on them. This is a last resort situation. That's when Iboga and Iboga comes in. That's level 3 stuff, which is very useful for people that don't have addictions, but it's critical. People do have very high level addictions, don't go through the whole ladder situation, right? So level 2 is your ayahuascas, your peyotes, your San Pedros, your cacti. They tend to be facilitated, and facilitated by people typically who've been doing the work for 10 plus years. That specific kind of work, facilitation. The bar for facilitation should be very high, and anybody who's doing that kind of work needs to be vetting their person significantly. If you don't have one, if you don't know them, don't do it. It's just not smart. Mm-hmm. The risks are significant for getting this kind of stuff, right? If you don't know what you're doing, if you don't know what your sourcing is, your sitter and or guide is not vetted, any of this work is not recommended, because you're opening up your mind, your consciousness, your energy to new stuff. And I hope you respect your mind, your body, and your energy. And assuming you do, you want to be careful and consistent and very methodical in the way you approach it. Because if you don't, to put it bluntly, you might get fucked. And that might not be worth it might not be worth it. Of course, you can recover. Of course, you can heal, all this other stuff. But why get yourself into a mess if you don't have to? So that's level 2. Then level 3 is your Iboga and 5-MeO-DMT. So this is heavy stuff. Mm-hmm. So this is heavy stuff, also heavy results, right? So Iboga's philosophy is no gain, no pain, no gain. And the price you pay is physical and psychological in nature, right? And obviously monetary as well. But the more you put skin in the game, the more you get out of it. And that's the general orientation. Iboga is probably the substance I know with the most behavior change that it results in from an experience. So heroin addicts tend to become about 70% recidiv, a rate of cure rate of addiction. No withdrawals.
Gabor Mate talks about that.
Yeah. Yeah, no withdrawals. That's the crazy stuff. So with other level 2 substances, they have the situation where you get off them, you have an urge to get off of these substances, but you still go through withdrawals, which I hear is terrifying and horrifying. But with Iboga, no withdrawals. No, you're clean, and it's miraculous, and we still don't know how it works.
I know we don't, and there's an interesting. If you guys want to know more about it, what's his? Oh my God, Hamilton. What's Hamilton's name?
Hamilton's pharmacopoeia.
Yeah, but what's his first name? Hamilton. What? Is it Andrew? No, it's not.
That's not Andrew.
It's not Andrew.
Just look it up.
I am.
Oh, that guy it has to be one of the smartest.
Hamilton Morris. He's fucking amazing. But he was just, I want to say recent. Well, yeah, recently in the last like 4 to 5 months was on Rogan's podcast again.
Yeah, that's a good
and
one.
He has a segment on there talking about Iboga.
Right.
Talking about its not even tertiary, but quad, like fourth dimensional properties that Iboga has. And even still today, even though like Iboga is actually more studied than ayahuasca when it comes to the analogs and the molecules within Ibogaine. But we still don't know at all, like the true how it works to such a degree.
Yeah, we don't know.
Yeah,
we just know it works on your reward system.
Mm-hmm.
Right. We just know it reworks the reward pathways. We know it's actually been very useful for Alzheimer's, because it like supercharges neurogenesis. Mm-hmm. Supercharges like the growth of new brain cells is at a rate that it's just bananas. And he also talked about this was actually really interesting to me. We're veering off the script a little bit, but I felt like we had a big script anyway. He talks about addicts, right? So they were talking about it in the context of addiction. And he talks about, we haven't done too much work with this stuff. We haven't tested. Like right now, so far, the way we're working with addicts is like, okay, let's like blast them. So Ibogaine is the extract of Iboga. Iboga is root bark, and you extract the hell out of it, and you take one alkaloid, the big boss basically, and then you give someone a fuck ton of it. Okay, so what you do. So you bring in an addict, and they say, okay, this addict, we need to give them so much Iboga that we don't know if their body can actually take it. So let's extract the lead alkaloid and give them a bunch of it and see how they react. Like essentially, it's shock treatment. It's psychological shock treatment. You're giving them so much of it that they go back, and likely they don't never touch it again, statistically. And Hamilton's like, maybe a better approach, instead of shocking the hell out of them, is doing 2 or 3 treatments within, a 9-month period. Maybe that's better. We don't know, because it's expensive. People have to take time off. There's a lot of other variables in the picture, and because it is not typically in this, the medical, it's not aligned in the medical model right now. Like these substances are Schedule 1 pretty much. This is a huge problem. So they have to go out of the country, pay out of pocket, figure the staff out, and that's why there's not enough done on it where we can start to see what is the ideal cadence here, what is the ideal dosage structure, what is the ideal kind of integration phase, and it's a whole thing we'll talk about, that kind of stuff. So it's very, very interesting stuff. It's like near miraculous in terms of what it's able to accomplish. Yeah, I'm very excited to have more research come out on it, in terms of what can be done.
Well, one benefit, at least in Canada, is both the ayahuasca and Iboga are under the pretense of religious act.
Mm-hmm. Right. Ayahuasca is under the pretense of religious act. Iboga, I think, is legal.
It's straight legal? Yeah?
I think it's legal. You can look it up.
How the fuck is Iboga straight legal and psilocybin's not?
Yeah, it's like,
or even a better an example you and I talked about before is salvia. This is fucking shit. Did I tell you my experience with salvia?
Yeah.
Time ago.
let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
My brain was like cut off of oxygen and like some parallel universe. Like I was camping, like it was the most fucked up, weirdest experience possible. But like I had like zero beneficial take from it. It's like I left it. It's quick because it's not long. It's like 10 minutes, 10, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I came back. I'm like, what the fuck? This stuff is fucked. Like there's no like therapeutic benefits. Like why?
Yes, Iboga is unregulated in Canada till 2009. Then Health Canada added Iboga to the prescription drug list in 2017.
Ah. But like, for example, I did a microdosing of Iboga. That like for me was like remarkable.
Oh yeah.
You know, in hindsight, after the day has passed by, but looking back, I'm like, okay, like things went different. I noticed things. I had more deeper insight about how my thoughts were formed or why my thoughts were formed and how I can analyze my thoughts.
Yeah, it's mind medicine. It's really fantastic stuff.
Yeah.
So now you know the hierarchy, right? So now you know level 1, cool, fun stuff that can really allow you to grow at a fundamentally amazing rate. The reason I'm frankly very interested in this kind of stuff is because I deeply believe that we are all here to learn and grow as human beings, and psychedelics allow you a highway, like it's the super highway of learning and growth. I do a bunch of other stuff, obviously, that helps me to learn and grow, but the information access that you get with this kind of stuff is unparalleled. And so you probably want to start with something like, if you're listening, if you're like, this is interesting, this is curious, this is something I want to get into, you want to look up MDMA. Now, MDMA started out as, you probably have heard of MDMA and ecstasy in conjunction. So ecstasy is MDMA, which is straight crystal, cut with speed. And that was used in party drug, as a party drug, pretty much, right? It's something, speed is something that is a stimulant. MDMA is something that makes you feel a lot of love, lots of serotonin and oxytocin released in the brain. It's kind of like takes your brain and releases a shit ton of serotonin and oxytocin in your brain. So you feel a lot of love. You feel very, very connected to yourself, connected to other people. It's been used in relationship therapy, where a husband and wife or a couple is looking to mend bonds between each other, and it's a very powerful experience. It's light, and it's not technically a psychedelic. Like you're not going to have visuals on it. You're not going to have it's going to be very light, and you're going to feel more of yourself. You're just going to feel a lot of love, and it's a beautiful experience. And most importantly, MDMA is in phase 3 trials in the States, for specifically PTSD. And there's been research to show because this is the crazy stuff. Anytime you look at any research to do with psychedelics, it tends to be mind blowing. You're like, what the fuck? How is this shit not legal? Within 3 sessions, a person with PTSD has a 80% cure rate. Not a reduction rate, right? Not I'm feeling slightly better, but it's 80% cure rate. You're done. It's done. It's called MDMA assisted psychotherapy. So you have a kind of designated licensed practitioner that administers the substance and then helps you move through the trauma. There's the standard protocol asks for an eye mask, and a headset with a preset playlist. And once you do that, over the course of 3 to 4 hours, it lasts you about 3 to 4 hours, and you start to have insights and understandings about yourself because of the way the medicine interacts with your mind and body. And in conjunction with a therapist, there's this like beautiful healing that happens that lots of people report. And is there like other show notes here? Can you like have people like click on links and shit? Is that a thing you can do here? Where is this live?
It's right here. Yeah, we can do show notes.
Right, because Tucker Max wrote an excellent article about.
You just let me know. 1 second. There's a chat feature in this.
Great. Where is it?
Right here. But the notes here, that's the actual box if you want to type in any notes to people so they can see it.
Cool. That's awesome. Okay.
Cool.
So I'll Tucker Max wrote an excellent article about his experience with MDMA therapy.
Oh yeah, that's right. Like a month or two ago.
Yeah. And I thought that was excellently done. It was really well done because A, Tucker's a great writer.
Mm-hmm.
B, Tucker's no bullshit, and I feel like people appreciate the style. And C, he went deep as fuck. Right, he really went into his experience. For anybody listening, just type Tucker Max MDMA, it'll come up. And that's a very good example of how MDMA can really make a massive difference in people's lives. I really think it's a profound experience, and I think something as an entry level as MDMA, if it can make that much of a difference, it's pretty incredible to know what the other stuff can do with you, right? So again, it's not crazy. Like it's almost, if you do it in the way that I've mentioned, it's so hard to fuck it up. So hard, right? And there are practitioners in most parts of North America, like most cities in North America, and I think MAPS is the Multidisciplinary Association of Psychedelic Society, something like that. MAPS, if you just search for MAPS, they should be able to point you in the right direction to practitioners in various cities that help you kind of do this. This is also quite underground. So
for now, I think it might be because you mentioned different classes, right? Substance A, then B and C, or class one. Yeah, schedule. Yeah, schedule 1, 2, 3. What's the goal? I think the goal for like 2020 or 2021 is to be a schedule 3
for MDMA.
Yeah, so medical practitioners can prescribe it.
Yeah, I think it has incredible application, and that alone can really help people heal fundamentally.
Yeah. Well, funny side note: LSD and MDMA were legal in like 60s.
Yeah,
they were legal and prescribed by psychiatrists.
That's how this whole shit went down, man.
Yeah.
Like, that's how the whole 60s shit went down.
It's pretty nefarious when you think about like war and drugs, which obviously you and I know that's a whole scam. We can have a whole different podcast on that. But like, you know, MDMA aside, if you look at plants, you can't patent plants. Like you can't patent different mushrooms or Iboga or Aya or any of these like, what's the other one, the cactus, peyote. But you know what I mean? So it's like the one thing that's non-addictive, ego shattering, spiritually enlightening, for the most part, most people can grow it. That's the stuff you make illegal.
Yeah. And I think with some of them, you can even start to look at like they're trying to see if they can patent like a synthetic psilocybin or something like that, right?
They can do whatever they can do whatever they want, but like same thing like what they're doing to weed right now. Like they thought that legalizing all weed is going to be like revolutionary, and people are going to, you know, people still want organic, properly cultured, properly grown, you know, respectful like practices of like how weed should be grown, as opposed to this like industrial, chemically laced, you know, type of like garbage weed. And not to mention, most of the indoor hydroponic weed has a ridiculous unbalance of THC to CBD. Like if you look at like outdoor strains, it's actually lower. You should have a low amounts of CBD in relation to low amounts of THC compared to CBD.
Right.
But then you got this crazy fucking kush shit like north of 20% THC. That shit fucking bonks your mind. You're gone. The fuck? What the fuck do I want that shit for? Don't fucking go brain dead.
No, you want a clean, consistent, good source.
You know what I'm saying? And so, yeah, but one thing with the MDMA, with the PTSD was fascinating. It was people who had chronic PTSD. So this wasn't people who just were diagnosed with PTSD as of yesterday. In the study, in the both phase 1, phase 2, and even now phase 3, it was people who've been there, done that, tried all different forms of modalities. Psychotherapy this, SSRI that, lithium this, blah, 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 blah. Everything failed. And so think about that. They've been there, done that. They tried everything. And just 2 treatments with MDMA-assisted psychotherapy was more beneficial. I think in the phase 2, it said 10 years worth of therapy they've done in the past. Only 2 treatments were worth more than the 10 years what they did in the past. It's like,
oh yeah, the value is hard to overstate, and it's also hard to explain, right? You have these experiments and you start to see the delta and the change and the good things that start to happen to people. That's profound. That's profound already. But you take something like an entry level experience, right? That's how you start. There's nothing really lighter, so to speak, although you can vary dose ranges, than MDMA, like on the general hierarchy, right?
Yeah.
Check that out. That's pretty crazy.
And so let's say if someone does that, then they're looking for something else. Would you say them
so before I even say that, I would actually say get an integration.
Integration.
Right. So this whole thing, the whole plant medicine stuff, I think it's cool. It's cool. It's great. It's getting tons of new press. People are talking about it. That like we are currently in like a position where we're experiencing a psychedelic renaissance.
Renaissance, brother. It's happening.
Right. So there's a great book called How to Change Your Mind by Michael Pollan. He wrote that. Game changer, right? Very established writer, thinker.
And the great thing about that book, he came into it as a skeptic.
And he was a very established food writer, and he started to say, what's going on here? And started to go down the rabbit hole, and started to ask questions and start to experiment with himself as to, how does this work, and how can I use these plants? Like, are they full of shit? Like, what's going on here? And it's a beautiful book about his experiences. I don't want to ruin it necessarily for people, but what he talks about is the fact that now slowly it's coming back to mass consciousness, where people are realizing, wow, this is actually quite useful stuff, and it could be very beneficial for our minds, our bodies, and our psyches, and society as a whole, if we start to look at these medicines that have been used, for thousands of years, really, to help you become a better person, fundamentally. And I think it's good. It's going to be a really great time. In terms of integration, so integration it's the boring stuff, right? It's the boring stuff. So the experience is like, woo, it's the meat of the sandwich, so to speak. And the experience stuff is stuff on both sides of it. So you have the preparation, which is like the left side of the sandwich. You have the experience, which is the meat. And then you have the integration, which is the right side of the sandwich. And if you were to kind of picture a sandwich, the bread on the right side is going to be a long one, right? It's going to be a long one because the work required in bringing back a lot of these insights are significant, right? They're significant. So, for people thinking, some people will be thinking, like, what ranges of experience have I had? And I've experienced all 3 levels of experiences at significant dose ranges. So integration basically means journaling, meditation, keeping your body healthy, like working out, movement, yoga, flexibility, whatever. and also being able to bring the experiences, the lessons you're bringing back, and applying it into life. That's where the money is. You know, you can do a bunch of stuff and a bunch of experiences, but unless you're bringing back insight and you're applying that into your life, like, what the hell are you doing? It's fine if you want to go on fun rides. That's fine. That's something you can do, and there's nothing wrong with that. But the reason I'm interested in some of this stuff is because it makes me a better human, and I want to act, and I want to improve, and I want to become better, and that comes with having a great peer group, right? That comes with being able to share experiences with people that are close in your life. That comes from being able to meditate and journal and things of that nature. And if you're not having an integration practice, it's like having water like sift through your fingers and fall away, right? So you have all this amazing stuff that comes at you, but you don't have a bowl, you don't have something to capture it and being able to use that. So the integration value is really high, and that's something you can start doing today. You know, whether it be a meditation practice or a journaling practice or some kind of consistent self-awareness practice. It could be writing, it could be playing chess, but it's some kind of a practice that helps you gain more self-awareness. That's really important.
And so what do you recommend then? What's something simple that people can just start? Well, you mentioned some stuff like chess and writing and meditation, etc. But like, for the most part, what do you find to be like the lowest barrier to entry that people can kind of stick with?
I think, like, it's different for different people. So for me, it's journaling. You know, that's very easy access to me. And if journaling is not good, try the Primer Journal. It's great. I think it's very individual. I think, we've known each other for years, so I know your general style. Like, I think for you, it's working out, to be honest, right? Your method of increasing your self-awareness is actually very physical in nature. It's like movement and health related and food related.
Yeah, I always said my best type of integration and auditing is just I fucking walk.
Yeah,
I walk, no music, no nothing. I just walk and let my brain do its thinking.
Yeah. There's a kinetic. You're a kinetic thinker as well, right? So that's your kind of your way of gaining self-awareness, right? So after an experience or so, you would want to spend, you want to like block out maybe half an hour to an hour to just walk and allow it to process. And that's your thing. And everybody's got their own thing. Obviously, you have a few standard things, meditation, journaling, things like that. You can go down those rabbit holes if you don't know what yours is. But chances are, for the people listening, you know what your stuff is, right? You know what your access is potentially to help yourself process and find something real to implement on the other side.
So moving along, what's your suggestion or advice for people who are hearing about, for example, most of these studies these days are coming up with psilocybin. Paul Stamets talks about it. Dennis McKinnon, Terrence McKinnon's brother. He's also been on Joe Rogan's podcast a bunch of times. I met him down in Mexico. Really awesome dude at the Crypto Psychedelics conference.
Nice.
Yeah, that was a good conference. That's in Tulum too. They definitely got to do that again.
How cool is that? Cryptos and psychedelics. Good dude.
It was bro. It was fucking sick, man. We had Maps was there. Nice. We sponsored it.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was a 2-day event talking about crypto and psychedelics. Dennis McKinnon was down there. A bunch of other amazing researchers and scientists were down there. It was a good time. Hopefully they had it this year, but they had it in Prague, and it was during like kind of cold, I think. I'm like, yeah, I need to have it during summertime. Then I'll show up. But going back to the psilocybin, so we're talking about different stages, like level 1, level 2, level 3 of entry points. What would be your recommendation then for people who are interested in psilocybin?
The way I would do it is, first I would get a smart friend. I would get a smart friend, someone like a facilitator, like someone who understands what they're doing in your general circle. And everybody has or some kind of, or try to find a facilitator who knows what they're doing. That's the first entry point, because doing this yourself is possible, but there's a lot of things that you have to do that can be difficult. Sourcing accurately, appropriately, high quality stuff, testing for impurities, this, that, all this other stuff. Rather, if you can find lowest hanging fruit, if you can find someone who is a doctor, a psychotherapist, a practitioner who is vetted, then this whole thing becomes way simpler. You know, they become kind of your go-to person, and that makes a huge difference. So that's what I would say.
Would you recommend people start with microdosing before they do something like even like 1 or 2 grams?
It's a great idea. Yeah, it's a great idea. So again, assuming you can get a clean, consistent source, microdosing is basically something that's made popular by Jim Fadiman, who wrote the Psychedelic Explorer's Guide. And he's an incredible human. He's been around for a long time. He's been around for a while. And he talks about the experience of giving someone 1/10 of a dose. Right? So let's say a dose is, you know, a hero's dose, let's say of psilocybin is 5 grams. We're not talking about that dose. We're talking about like a 2 to 3 gram dose. So 1/10 of that would be 0.2 or 0.3 grams. It's sub-threshold, which means, in his words, the rocks don't even glitter a little bit. Yeah. And it just kind of adds to your perception of life. Think of it like psychedelic coffee. Right? It's like coffee. It improves your baseline of awareness, kind of yours, a little brighter, a little sharper, a little more aware today. And it can help you do everything you're doing just with an added layer of awareness. And that added layer of awareness is really valuable, really useful. And yeah, if you have access to it, absolutely. Microdoses are a great way to start because it also removes any fear. And this is right. So let's address that, because that's something that people likely experience, right? They have it, you know, it's very common to feel a fear of what would you discover on the inside? Like, what if they go crazy? What if they're able to not control the experience? What happens if? And it's a reasonable concern, considering if someone's never done psychedelics before, or let's say they've had some experiences in the past with, you know, with the wrong dose range they haven't measured, or the wrong the mindset and the setting of the right people around. If they hadn't had that, they've had an experience that has been challenging, likely it stopped them from being able to do any of the experiences in the future because they've experienced some trauma. And they have to move through that trauma to be able to, you know, engage and partake in the substance again. And so there's likely with hallucinogens, psilocybin, you know, LSD, you know, and heavier stuff, you're going to have some trauma that you're going to have to overcome. As a result of that, and the key is to start at small dose ranges. The way I think about it, like, start at small dose ranges and slowly make your way up. And aim for like, if you're starting out, aim for experience every 6 months. You know, maybe a year. Start small, start slow, start consistently. Like, make it, you know, some people like to make it a birthday ritual, where they start to get like you know, large dose of insight year after year, and they kind of upgrade and keep moving from there. So there's lots of different ways of kind of doing this. And microdoses and you can microdoses of pretty much every substance that I know of. You can do acid, you can do LSD is the term I prefer. Psilocybin.
I hate that term acid. It's like a negative connotation. Acid. Acid. I'm not fucking putting acid down my throat. Get the fuck out of here. Not true. You know what I mean? We're part of the branding fucking division back then. You failed. You fucking failed. Fucking fired. Acid. And let me call something acid.
Shit.
You know what I mean? Like fuck. You should call it like fucking gummy bear. Like, you know what I mean? Like some kind of like good positive connotation would have spread a little bit more than fucking acid.
Seriously. Yeah, I know you can't microdose MDMA.
No, because the tipping point of at least 0.08.
Yeah. So you can microdose that heavier stuff as well. But if you're doing it, you know, stick with your psilocybin and LSD to start, I would say.
Always start small, man. I told you this before. My worst trip actually in my life was eating too many edibles.
Okay, so let's hear the edible story.
Bro, I've overdosed twice in my life. And
that was a much heavier stuff.
Sorry?
That was a much heavier stuff.
Bro, I was young, man. I was like, I'm 33 now. That was like when I was like 18, 19, like this is eons ago. Like outdoor raves, like the original raves, like World Electronic Music Festival here in Canada, like before any EDM shit even like, fucking existed, like Algonquin Park shit, like deep in the fucking bush. But the bottom line, yeah, there's uppers and downs. I don't you fucking name it. And bottom line, I black out, I wake up, and I'm like, oh, I'm better now. So like I had no cognition of the event, nor physical memory, nor pain receptors to associate with that event, right? It happened to me. I woke up and thank God there was friends and medical help.
Right.
But
so what you're saying is basically you OD'd, but the OD itself was not challenging or painful because you blacked out, basically.
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah, don't get me wrong. Like at the beginning was like spinniness, dizziness, puking, heart rate, like that. But like nothing in comparison to my horrible fucking weed trip, dude. Dude. I think I ate like 500 to 600 milligrams of fucking.
Yeah, it's 500 to 600.
Bro, if I had to guess, I remember, man. I spent like 2-3 hours on the toilet, both sides coming in and out. Blah. And like the shakes, I became pale. And then the thing is, you know, you're fucked. Like, I know exactly what's going on. And I'm like, yo, this is death, bro. This is the most fucked up thing ever, bro. And I've done so many things. I'm sitting, and luckily I had access. It was like, it was one of my friend's place. Anyways, I had access to a bed. I sat down there for like, I don't know how many fucking hours, man, in this wormhole of death. Just going down and like shaking like this and like going to the wash and like I still feel it, man. That's how fucked up.
Yeah, you definitely have trauma from that for sure. You can't. Yeah, it's
edibles are fucked. And I'm not the only one. Any other people tell me their most fucked up trip was edibles?
Yeah, no, man, mine was.
So there you go.
Fucked up. It wasn't even edible. It was technically CBD oil.
Yeah.
That wasn't CBD oil at all. I don't know what the fuck, dude. It was terrifying. It was fucked. So a buddy of mine bought like the highest like concentration of CBD oil for his grandfather.
Yeah.
He's in like essentially like the last stages of his life for pain control and things of that nature, because CBD is supposed to be really good for that. Mm. And his grandfather gave it back to him because, you know, he felt that, you know, he was tripping. Apparently he tripped on it and he didn't like it, and he gave it to my buddy, who didn't think twice about it. He's like, oh, I guess my grandfather isn't into it. I guess I'll take some. And so he told me it's really high grade CBD. Like we're talking like the bottle has like a few hundred milligrams.
Mm.
And he took some himself, and he said, "Hey, you want some?" I'm like, "Oh, CBD, that's fine. I have much better experience with CBD than THC." So I take some. I get home, and I'm starting to get high as fuck. I'm like, wait, I don't understand. My mouth starts to get really dry.
Oh, fuck, cotton mouth. Oh my god.
Really dry. Really dry. Yeah. I'm like, wait, that wasn't THC, was it? And I look around and I'm like, I'm definitely high. Oh shit. And it's not getting any better.
Yeah.
It's starting to like, oh, it was the most horrific experience of my, like, I've done some shit.
Yeah.
You know, not OD level shit. But I've had some challenging experiences. I gotta say, man, this one was this one was like.
Well, the problem with fucking the psycho, because it becomes psychoactive when you eat it.
Exactly.
The problem is like
at high levels of THC.
Yeah, man.
So I don't know what happened in your situation, but my situation, it was mislabeled, right? This thing was mislabeled.
I just didn't know how much fucking milligrams was in the fucking brownies.
Oh man,
or the cookies. One or the other.
You didn't ask?
Well, what the fuck we know? What the fuck? I was fucking like 19. I don't think gives a shit, dude. What the fuck? I think I give a shit how much fucking milligrams are in that shit.
Man, moral of the story is be extremely careful.
Moral of the story is I'm surprised I'm alive. That's the moral of the story. I was like a fucking garbage disposal unit back in the day.
Wow. Wow. Yeah, man. Yeah.
It was actually so much better. I always say, I'm like, oh, fucking thank God. I was like, we were the last generation before like all this fucking Facebook and Twitter, and everyone's like, yo, we were like anti all that shit. Pictures, get the fuck out of here. Well, fucking pictures. Even on the shitty phones back, break that shit. No fucking pictures allowed. Nothing allowed. No cameras, no pictures. This is fucking, we're in Black Ops mode over here, bro. Incognito.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ, man.
That was a different era in your life.
So I actually feel sorry for people who didn't grow up pre-social media shittery. Like, you go now to any, like, even like any EDM festival or like even Burning Man. Everyone's like, look at me. I am so fucking spiritual. Yo, get the fuck out of here. Yo, what the fuck are you doing with your fucking phone and your camera? Break that shit. Like, I'm telling you, man. They're missing out, man. I'm thank fucking God there was no fucking social media when I grew up. Thank God. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, understandable.
You know.
Yeah. And thank God we have much better research and much better awareness of some of the stuff now. But you can do the good stuff.
Oh God, yeah, man. Because that's another thing people forget. These studies are A, very expensive, and B, okay, so there's three things to it. There's A, it's very expensive. B, it takes a very long bureaucratic time to cut the red tape to get approved for these studies. And C, the studies take a long time.
And D, the researchers who do it are putting their ass on the line.
Fuck yeah.
In a way that you can't imagine. Like, they're risking their careers to do this. Right, there's this researcher and PhD by the name of Rick Strassman, who did the significant research around the molecule DMT, or dimethyltryptamine, and he talks about the conundrum that he went through. Right? He talks about the difficulty that he had as he figured out, am I going to do this? Am I going to do research on this molecule? Because, I could have my license taken. There's so many things that can happen if he's treading on the wrong side of the razor's edge, so to speak. And yeah, you know what? To me, like, I think of like heroic acts as being acts of courage that require strategic foresight and just an understanding that this needs to get done, and someone might, like, the people that are researching this might take one for the team, might be taking one for the team, and they're okay with it, and that's remarkable, right? They could just write some other bumfuck other paper about some random, like, non-controversial molecule or substance and be fine with it.
Yeah. But well, this is where I'm like, there's one thing I'm actually excited, and great example of this is what the Pineapple Fund did in crypto. They gave Maps, I think it's $5 million.
Talk to me about the, I don't know what the Pineapple Fund is.
The Pineapple Fund was fucking, whoever he was, or they, OGs, fucking OGs.
Sure.
They or he, I think it's he made a shit ton of money during with Bitcoin.
So who are we talking about?
I don't know.
Oh, so we don't know the. I see. No. So we know these people. Got it. Okay.
People know who he is, but I don't bother to probe. I know, I don't care. I don't want to. Cool guy made a shit ton of money, and he's like, I want to give back. And he created a pineapple fund. And within the pineapple fund, he had a voting mechanisms like, who should I give money to? And people are voting on foundations and charities and different initiatives. And Maps was highly voted on that. And he gave them $5 million vis-a-vis Bitcoin to Maps. Maps takes crypto, man. You can fund them. And so, like, what I'm excited about in the future is, yo, fuck us being dependent on the government or institutions to bypass all this red tape for funding. Yo, I'll fund studies. We get 1 million people to give $1. You know what I mean?
That's the cool stuff, and that's the stuff that crypto can really. That's the blockchain. Yo, let's talk about some blockchain stuff, shall we?
Sure,
this is your wheelhouse, and I'm genuinely interested in figuring some of this shit out.
Yeah.
And it's awesome that I have you as like access to understand all this stuff. So apparently, like, so these are the facts that I know that are like pretty like well known and undisputed. So I'm gonna share them with you just so we're on the same page here. So crypto, specifically, let's say Bitcoin, ETH, Monero, right, Litecoin, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're volatile. They're volatile. And what we know is they are the current kind of cryptocurrencies, but we have no idea, as to the long-term longevity / sustainability of those specific cryptocurrencies. Am I accurate? Accurate?
For the most part, we can both for Monero, Bitcoin, and Ethereum. For the most part, we know the issuance specifically for Bitcoin and Monero. We know how much will be mined vis-a-vis the miners, and we know that it's a decreasing supply, and so we can price that in within the price. The one thing that we can't control, obviously, is market dynamics. We don't know when people are buying and selling vis-a-vis OTC, so over the counter, not the exchanges, and that's where the majority of the purchases actually happen. It's not the exchanges. People don't want to show you that they're selling, let's say, $10 million or $50 million worth of Bitcoin. But yes, for the most part, it's still highly volatile.
Right. And what is universally agreed upon, that I've seen as almost most universally agreed upon, is the fact that blockchain is going to change the world. Right? The idea of what blockchain is going to change the world. And so walk me through the blockchain revolution, if you will. Like, walk me through where it is now. Walk me through what you see it's doing in, let's say, 10 years, when, let's say, it's fully established and fully integrated into society, what it can do, what it promises. Maybe it's 5 years, 7 years.
Sure.
So walk me through that whole thing.
I think promises is a bad way to look at it. If you look at the most successful chains right now, they all started organically for the most part. Bitcoin, Monero, Ethereum. And each of them have a very specific use case and a specific ethos. Best example I give is like very religious. These Bitcoin is very religious. It has a lot of similarities between how Jesus came, Jesus left, the disciples came. Like, we don't know who Satoshi was. We have some records of him vis-a-vis Bitcoin talk and some correspondence. He disappears. Hal Finney is one of like the first disciples that starts mining Bitcoin, working on the Bitcoin code, implementing some BIPs, and the other early code providers jump in, and then slowly through grassroots, Bitcoin starts getting adopted like a religion. And you can look at Ethereum too, like Vitalik, like a messiah, like people worship him. People look at him like he's like everything. Then you have like key people around Vitalik. So it's very tribal of us. But the promise, I wouldn't say there's no promise. I would say there is potentialities with this technology. Number one, Bitcoin obviously is it is the closest thing that we have, and so far the number one in lead for having state-free money, store of value. Where we can transfer value from point A to point B. I call Bitcoin anti-war technology. I can communicate with anybody in the world, and I don't need anybody's permission. I can buy stuff with it. I don't need anyone's permission. I can sell stuff with it. I don't need anyone's permission. And so it's very powerful. Then we have Ethereum lately, where a lot of people are trying to build decentralized financial products. So Maker is one, like a stable coin, DAI, creating systems where people can easily get loans anywhere in the world, almost at 0% interest. Imagine like you're somewhere like
so
India.
How far away are we at this?
I think truthfully we're still at like the 5-yard line.
All right.
Yeah, I think we're very early.
Yeah. So this is also something that's been universally agreed upon, right? Everybody's like, this is early as shit. We're trying to build this stuff. We're trying to figure out what it can do, what it can't do. Like, we're trying to figure out the edge of the system. It's going to be a while till it is integrated.
Yeah, and so it's going to be geographically dependent too, because each part of the world has a different need and a necessity for certain aspects of this technology. At least here in North America, we don't have a oppressive government per se. We don't have, let's say, a banking system that's all of a sudden going to take your money, but they've done in the past. If you look at if you actually look at American history, there's been a run on the banks in American history. This isn't something that'll be for the first time. Like, people have a very short-term memory. Here's another thing that people forget: the United States confiscated your gold. There was laws where it was give us your gold or go to jail. They can't do that with Bitcoin.
Well, they can, but you don't have to necessarily give it. It's not a physical asset.
I don't have any physical. I don't have Bitcoin. What Bitcoin? What are you talking about?
Yeah, they can't seize a physical asset, so to speak.
And where Bitcoin's going, we have technology like Schnorr signatures, where all transactions on both ends will be moot, meaning you will not know the amounts. You will know there's a sender and receiver, but the amounts will be unknown. So it makes even more privacy dominant within the space.
Interesting.
Yeah, so I'm very long on Bitcoin as a store of value per se.
As a cryptocurrency itself?
Yeah, because I see people storing a portion of their wealth in Bitcoin on the proof of work chain. And then I see layer 2 technologies like Lightning Network being utilized for day-to-day transactions.
Okay, hold on. So Lightning Network, tell me more about this Lightning Network stuff.
So Lightning Network is a second layer of technology built on Bitcoin.
On the Bitcoin platform.
Blockchain, correct.
Blockchain, right.
It utilizes Onion Tor network, if you guys are familiar with that. Yeah. And pretty much
just to make it simple. Onion Tor technology basically is a kind of technology that utilizes encryption and anonymity.
Correct.
To transact online.
Correct. Yeah. And so basically, it uses it's called hops. It uses a relayer system. So for example, I want to send UJ money. I don't care how it gets to UJ. I'm willing to pay like X amount of fees to get to UJ. It goes through the Onion network. It goes through any different hops it needs to go, the fastest way to get to UJ.
Right? That's basically
it. Yeah. The best visualization I give for hops, if anyone has seen the last Guardian of the Galaxy when they face Ego, the planet. Have you seen that movie? Rocky Raccoon and Guardians of the Galaxy. They face the Ego, the big planet, one of the Celestials.
Yeah, I remember that. Yes.
Yeah, and so Rocky Raccoon and the blue dude. Fuck, what's the blue dude's name? Yondu. Yeah. They have to quickly go to Ego, the planet, to help Quinn and everybody, and they go through all these like space portals. So those are hops, right? And so, that's, I think 2019, 2020 are going to be massive years for Bitcoin. And then Ethereum is going through its growing pains.
Massive years for Bitcoin from a technology standpoint or a price
evolution of the tech. Yeah.
Got it. Not necessarily the price at which it's trading, but
I don't know. I don't really pay attention to price, to tell you the truth.
Interesting. So you pay attention to well, you probably do look at it. But
Not really.
So you just look at where the tech is going?
I look at the evolution of the tech. I look at the fundamental principles of the tech. I look at the size of the network. I look at the hash power. I look at how many people around the world are joining the hash power.
That's a big one. How many people
without hash power, you don't have security.
Okay, so for the uninitiated, what is hash power?
Hash power is the amount of ASICs, right? So these are application specific. Just call for. Oh, I don't like that's a complicated word. I like to call them machines that crunch numbers, right?
Basically,
Like a video card on
the
steroids.
intellectual horsepower of the blockchain.
I want to say intellectual. I will call it the
Computational?
mathematical computational force
Yeah.
to protect the blockchain of Bitcoin.
Got it. Yeah. So so hash power is so we're on the same page here. Hash power is the computational horsepower of the Bitcoin blockchain.
Yes.
Got it.
And so the more of that, the better.
Makes sense. What about the market cap?
I think market caps are very bad metrics to follow because it's highly flawed.
Okay, tell me more.
I think a better metric to follow is daily hash rates, daily transactions.
Interesting.
Because also another thing, market caps, it can be like inflated vis-a-vis exchanges, whereas exchanges can be easily altered as well.
And but daily, what did you say? Daily hashes?
Well, you can look at daily hash volume, but you can also look at transaction volume and then block size.
There we go. How do you look at this stuff?
Coinmetrics is one.
Coinmetrics.com?
.co, I believe. And then the easiest one is Messari.io, MESSARI, I believe, .io.
.io. This is great. This is cool shit.
Yeah.
Coinmetrics.
I think it's .co.
.io, actually.
Is it .io? Okay.
Messari.io as well. Huh. Cool. That makes so much sense. That makes a lot of sense. I'm down with that. That makes sense. So if you look at the daily hash rate, use the amount of transactions that are in the network. That's basically what you're saying.
Yeah, the hash rate is how active is that blockchain.
Yeah. Yeah. How many people are actually doing transactions of this shit?
Yeah, because the whole point of proof of work is that you and I can submit a transaction to the Bitcoin blockchain. And then basically what the ASICs do is they solve something called a nonce. It's this random number on top of the header of the blockchain. Right. Yeah. And whoever solves it first. So this is just sheer brute force. Like literally,
kind of dumb, but it's not.
It's not dumb. This is game theoretical models, right? So it's heavy.
It's process. I know a little bit about this stuff, and basically I started to look into how a hash is created. At the top, the top of the block, there's like a hash that cryptographically seals it for the next layer, right? For the
next block, because how it goes is it's timestamped in hash. So A B B B, sorry, A B B B C C C D D D, right?
Yeah,
it's linear.
I get it. So what I learned was it's almost like a randomized function where multiple A6s start to compute the probability of a certain, essentially there's a certain function where they have to brute force their computational power at a certain problem. Based on that, that's how the hash is formed. Am I accurate, or am I totally?
Yeah, at the end of the day, it's quite simple. You have money, you buy all these ASICs, you rent warehouse space, you buy electricity, you have engineers. And the more power, the more hash power you have, the higher percentage chance you have to solve it first, not last. First. And this is why we have something called uncle blocks, where you do solve something, but you don't solve it first, you solve it afterwards.
Okay.
And you don't get paid for that. Actually, in Ethereum chain, you get paid a little bit. I forget how much. But that's all different can of worms.
Proof of stake. We're going a little deeper, but I'm curious to know what the difference between proof of work and proof of stake.
Well, proof of stake is pretty open term because there's different proof of stakes.
Okay.
So it's hard to compare. Even proof of work for the most part is pretty much the same. At least people who have cloned Bitcoin, it's ASICs. But proof of stake, like proof of stake from Tezos to Cosmos to Ethereum, whenever they switch over to Decred, to all the other ones, EOS, they're different, extremely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, you're bullish on Bitcoin
as a store of value.
As a store of value.
Yeah.
So basically, long term.
Yes.
What else are you bullish on?
Monero. I fucking love Monero.
All right.
Yeah.
Monero is essentially Bitcoin, but
privacy coins. Like for price wise, I'm talking about actual utility. Bitcoin, Monero, Zcash, Ethereum. They have a lot of competition coming up with like Polkadot and Cosmos.
Ethereum.
Yes.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and Ethereum needs to figure out, and there's a lot of like interesting talk with like decentralized financial instruments with Ethereum, like Maker and DAI, and creating derivatives and creating open finance systems. But time is against them, so we'll see. I don't know. Like we haven't really discovered Ethereum's real use so far. The best narrative right now is open finance.
Interesting. Okay. Basically,
but remember, like Bitcoin has had a 10-year head start.
Yeah, and the blockchain is being actively like fucking developed and worked on and crafted.
And it's also pretty focused on one specific application, as opposed to original Ethereum's promise was the world computer. You can do anything and everything you want.
Right. That makes sense. And
but I'm excited, man. Like I'm fucking excited. I'm excited for all these projects. I know the crypto space for me has a lot of naysayers and a lot of people who are hardcore evangelists and they're absolutists. When it comes to like this is one thing, it does everything. I'm like, it becomes very toxic with the very like religious ideologies, you know. It's like my way. But for me, I view it as a fucking one gigantic shit show of an experiment. Like, I don't give a fuck, dude. Do whatever the fuck you want. I'm gonna sit back and relax and watch it all happen. And the people that for me, I'm a firm believer in people over technology. Always people always over technology.
Tell me more about the
well, technologists, for example, they think technology alone sells. It doesn't. Or they think the better technology will be the winner. It's like that's far from the truth.
It's actually quite
people. It's people that win.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. So basically, you're saying you champion people over technology. What is unpack that for me, the people versus technology.
I trust people more than I trust tech. Like if I look at the Bitcoin blockchain, Blockstream, and the cryptographers working on, like I put my faith in them.
I see.
And I put my faith in that it attracts top cypherpunks and top cryptographers around the world. Same thing with Ethereum. I like Ethereum. It attracts amazing talent. It attracts really interesting, different minds, from people who are engineers to people who are economists to people who are in philosophy. It attracts all these different, interesting, eclectic groups of people to come together to figure out new types of models online.
Oh yeah, I've heard limited things about Ethereum and generally the talent it attracts, and the conversations they have and the developers attracts.
Yeah,
and from what I quite a altruistic, philanthropic person. Am I accurate? Or am I totally off base?
Yeah. You know, I think a lot of people though are kind of naive too within the space. They believe things will just happen and they won't get kicked back, and also they forget that. Listen, you and I know this. Most human beings are dumb. Not dumb in the essence of like just as an IQ dumb. I'm talking dumb as in it takes a very long time to. Most people don't have instinctual outlooks at certain things in life. Meaning like. You and I want to use Signal, right? We got to download Signal. We have to understand. Most people won't do that, right? I tell people be responsible for your Bitcoin. Own your private keys, for example. Buy one of these. Set up your C phrase. 99% of people won't do this, right? People like to have a one big green fucking easy button. Click easy. And people get a lot of cognitive dissonance, and they need the most easiest button possible because that's how they've been habitually programmed the last 15 years because of the internet. And so. Crypto needs this. If we're gonna have mass adoption within like Ethereum of like decentralized open finances, whether with DAI or anything else, we need one push mobile button. Click, 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 click.
That's basically what you're saying is we need easy adoption of the blockchain.
Easy use, UI, UX, easy use.
Yeah. So if I could go out and basically I could just have a situation where I drop in, I buy coffee and I just like tap my phone on the machine and I pay with crypto.
Yeah, we can do that right now. It's super early, but that's for me. That's inevitable. It's eventually going to happen.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm excited for that. I'm very excited for that. I think that is going to be an awesome time. How far do you think we are from like the wider adoption of it?
I think like for Lightning Network, like 2020, 2021 early.
Oh, that's like a couple of years.
Yeah, for Lightning Network, yeah.
Okay. And for the people listening, obviously, you know, if they're listening, they're interested in crypto, they probably own some. What would you? Because I trust your general outlook and perspective and advice when it comes to this shit. Because you know it, you're in it, you breathe it, you understand the tech, you work with the teams, you have deal flow. There's lots of interesting. You're in the heart of the shit. So, like, knowing what percentage like portfolio you would advise. Obviously, you guys, this is not investment advice. Like, be smart, don't be dumb, that kind of thing. But like, what would you recommend for people like listening if they were to like invest, let's say, $10,000 into
most people aren't investors, and they have a hard time understanding that. Most people are very emotional creatures, not rational. For the most part, the stuff that I invest in, I know it fully. I don't invest in stuff that I don't know. For example, I'm not the wisest in stocks. I have only 2 stocks, and the reason I have it, I actually know the people in the fucking company myself. Like, fuck. And so for me, until I have domain expertise over this, or unless I have delegated my money to a fund, so I have fiduciaries responsible for that, I don't invest in shit that I don't know. That being said, remember, like, look at the crazy crypto boom last Christmas. It was all irrational, based on FOMOnomics, right? Or the previous Christmas, 2 years ago. And people lose money because people are emotionally dumb.
FOMOnomics, did you say?
FOMOnomics, yeah.
I like it.
I got that from Brad Mills. You know Brad?
I know Brad.
Yeah, from Mastermind.
FOMOnomics, I like it.
And so it's like, okay, invest what you have no emotional attachment to. And so like, it's a $50 that you don't care about, put $50 in. Is it $100 or is it $1,000? You know, what's your threshold of emotional pain that you can manage? And you should, and dear God, you should not be investing stuff if you can't afford to invest. Meaning, if it hurts that you lose it, your number one concern should not be investing. Your concern should be earning more. So people conflate between investing and having a bigger earning potential. And this is a big problem too when people are trying to figure out how to make more money. Like, well, I'm going to take a little bit what I have right now and invest in something. Unless you're doing some fucking high risk investment with like for example, crypto's high risk investment with a high upside, but extremely fucking volatile. They can lose everything, which like many people have. Like some people are buying at the high, like fucking like 19,000, 20,000 when Bitcoin was. It's insane. And I always tell people you need to have higher earning potential as opposed to invest. It's like, okay, you're only making like 60K a year. You shouldn't be thinking about investing. You're not at that stage for investing. You should be thinking about how the fuck do I make 120? You know? Okay, you're 120. Cool. Now you got disposable income. You got income now that if you lose it, it doesn't hurt you. Right? So these are whole different conversations. And so people need to figure out, if I'm making 60, how can I make 120? What are side hustles I can do? As Gary V talks about, what are things I can sell maybe online? What are maybe some like, how can I increase the value I bring in my current company? How can I do some consulting on the side? Like, this is the shit that I tell people. I'm like, fuck investing. I'm like, get your earning potential up.
Yeah, understandable. Yeah, makes sense. But let's say someone did have 5K that they could be comfortable losing.
For me, like I put it in Bitcoin and privacy coins, a little bit Monero, like 50% Bitcoin, 25% Monero, 25% Ethereum. I'll do it like that.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool.
sit it, relax. You know, I don't care if it goes up, it goes up. If I lose it, whatever.
Exactly. That's the critical piece. Like, you know, hold on to it, relax, breathe.
Yeah.
Right. You're from what I understand, you're long on it, which means, you know, in several years, 5, 10 years, the store of value as a general trend is going to be upward.
Yeah, and like remember, like the conversation we're having here, like for the most part, we're not talking to like crazy accredited investors who invest, and the reason why they're investors is multiple times in their life they've successfully gained wealth through one means or the next. And so like regular people, and this goes back, is like I had this question I always told, like it irritates me, but it's very important. It's like, and earning potential, man. Like people talk, I've had too many people say, well, I want to invest 1,000. Like, fuck, can you afford to lose 1,000? No. I'm like, then why the fuck would you invest 1,000 if you can't financially afford to lose 1,000? Like, I'd rather take that 1,000, buy some fucking swag on Alibaba or where the fuck, or even buy it in like fucking dollar store and sell and chop it on Amazon or chop it on eBay or whatever. Like, yo, you need to make more money.
Mm-hmm. Cool. No, makes sense. So, from what I hear, like, so currently, like, what's the state of the industry in general, the crypto industry? Like, what's going
Building,
on?
man. I love the bear market. Fuck the bull market. I fucking hate bull markets. Bull market brings in idiots, stupid people, and people get crazy because they're
in a bear market. I'm assuming there's consolidation.
Consolidation, and we still haven't consolidated. People think the valuation is still fucked. Like, fuck.
Even in a bear market.
Yeah, man. I love the bear market though. Like people think crypto's dead. Fuck that. The shit that people are building still, like stuff going on in Ethereum, Cosmos, Polkadot, Bitcoin, Lightning Network. Fuck, bro. The bear market is like, I love the bear market because the people who were here before the bull market, we're still here. You know, it's not like we showed up yesterday. We've been here for years. You know, the people here during the bull market, well, they came and they're gone. You know, they're here just fucking skim off the top. Well, fuck you. Get out of here. We don't need you anyways.
Yeah. So it's interesting because I'm pretty confident with every bull and bear market. There's like a contingent of OGs that just get like tighter and stronger and just like more methodical in their approach to.
Of course, man.
Understanding and you working with, and because you're really like, it's at the inception. Maybe not inception stage.
Not inception, no. I was in inception stage. I was in inception stage for like Ethereum per se, but not inception stage for Bitcoin.
Right.
I came to Bitcoin, I think, in like 2000 and end of 2013, 2014, something like that. I think 2013, roughly. So I've been here like 5 to 6 years. For me, has nothing to do with price. It's nothing to do with getting wealthy at all. That's a side effect. But I'm here for the fact that what the technology has the potential to enable people to have access to X, enable people to communicate, enable people to have privacy, enable people to have means of financial communication, meaning commerce. Like this is what excites me the most. Everything else is a side effect.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. And you were always ideologically drawn to Bitcoin anyway, so that makes total sense.
Of course, bro. When I first saw it, I didn't understand the tech. It took me a while, but like I'm like, yo, I'm in the story. I get it.
And you took a while to understand the tech. So what did you do to understand the tech? Like,
I literally talked to people physically. Like, thank God Toronto is one of the hot spots in space. We had Peter Todd here, a bunch of Bitcoiners here. Andreas Antonopoulos used to come here. Ethereum was here. So we just had, because of the proximity of Toronto, I had the luxury of speaking with a lot of brilliant people.
Awesome. Okay. And if there's like a resource that someone can read, listen to like understand more about the blockchain revolution, what would that be?
Blockgeeks, bro.
All right. So what's the article they would read? What's the first thing they would read?
Actually, the simplest way is we organize the site in beginners, intermediate, and advanced. Okay. And so they can literally just go to Blockgeeks, click guides, then go to basics and just go down the rabbit hole. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. No, the education.
And also we made every guide audio now too, so you can listen by voice too.
Cool. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is useful info that I think generally, as time moves on, is going to be valuable.
Yeah, man.
Yeah. What are you reading these days?
I am rereading The Sovereign Individual, so I'll show you.
Oh yeah, you posted that. I saw that.
Yeah. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but
yeah,
that's what I'm rereading. It's a big book, so I'm rereading that. Reread that a couple of times. And as for Audible, when I do walk, I'll show you. I just finished re-listening to Joseph Campbell's The Power of Myth. Every quarter I listen to that.
You're heavy on that book.
Heavy, bro. It's so many lessons. And the latest one is Keeping at It, Paul Volcker, the former chairman of the Fed.
Huh. What's the book about?
In a nutshell, he's like, our monetary system's fucked, our inflation's fucked, and we've been hijacked by fucked up crony capitalism. And until we fix the Fed and fix our monetary system, things aren't looking good. To summarize.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I feel like, yeah, we've known that for a while. You know, that's been public information since 2008, pretty much.
Yeah.
You know, so yeah, there's a really cool 2-part YouTube series called, what the fuck is it called? It's on Joseph Campbell's Hero's Journey.
Okay.
It's like 2 clips of about 10 minutes each, where I don't have the patience to read that specific book. It's a big book, man. How many hours is it?
Oh, fuck. The Power of Myth with Bill Myers?
Yeah, okay.
It's like a 6-part, and each part is like an hour, so 6 hours.
Oh, that's not that big. The Hero's Journey, though.
Hero's Journey book is it's not a book, bro. That's a ref. But that I've had that for 10 years now, and I'm still reading it.
Exactly. Like, you can't get through it. So I was pissed, and I was like, "Fuck! I just need to find a."
And it's deep. Like, you need to understand so many mythological motifs and models, and it's not a binary read. It's a very deep read.
Anyway, I was like, "Look, I want this information in 20 minutes."
Yeah.
Okay. Patient about it. So I went on YouTube. There's a great documentary. Let me pull this up, called it really sums the hero's journey really well. And it makes it simple with animation and this and that and everything else. There we go. Crash Course World Mythology. I think there's like a part 1, part 2, or something like that. I'm going to.
That's dope.
Yeah. Crash Course Mythology. And it's really great. It breaks it down like pretty straightforward. I think there's a couple of parts to it. But yeah, I'm down. This is something that I would watch again just to understand what it is, and also gives you a very clear understanding of how you can apply this into your own life. Right? I'm just kind of logging.
Yeah, I always tell people Joseph Campbell in my eyes has been the most him and Jung and Schopenhauer probably like formed the most of my thoughts and the way that how I view the world.
Huh.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It just makes sense. It's like not complicated. Like, I get it.
Yeah. So that kind of stuff. That's why I love the internet so much. Like, this is such a powerful source of information. It's like a fire hose of information that you can bring from. It's incredible.
Yeah, the problem is filtering. You know, I made a video not too long ago talking about Aristotle's filter test.
Is it true? Is it good?
Yes.
Is it useful?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's exactly it.
What a great one. Is it true?
Yeah.
Is it good? Is it useful?
And it's also like there is too much information, as you mentioned, like a fire hose. And then all of us obviously have cognitive biases, and we are shaped and formed due to our upbringing and due to our circle of influence, and obviously due to where we live. And so I had this talk with Sisler. He was on my show like a couple of days ago.
Nice.
Yeah, we went deep in on like human cognition and understanding awesome. Like him and we had a good show. Yeah, he's great. Yeah. And so it's like, how do you break the cognitive biases? Well, psychedelics is one. It shatters your ego, and you have no choice. Like it's like
you can. It doesn't always shatter you.
Well, if you do a hero's journey, bro, I've had some fucking interesting trips where I like straight punch in your face, and it's like, okay.
Yeah. So for context, for people listening, the hero's dose.
Yeah.
Is 5 grams of psilocybin mushrooms.
Yeah. Well, what was Paul Stamets' story? He did like fucking 15 and went on top of a hill, then his stuttering stopped. He's like, neurogenesis.
some 17 grams or some. Just
fucking 7. I don't think I've ever done 7. The most I've probably done was 10 wet.
10 wet is like more like 3-4 dry.
Yeah, 10 wet, and then dry I had 5. I don't like wet.
Yeah, 10 wet is 3 or 4 dry. Yeah. Dry is more accurate.
But my worst trip was 3 grams in shroom tea.
That's it? Nothing else?
Bro, well, I had alcohol and mixture of everything else. It wasn't just shroom tea.
Right.
And it was such a crazy trip, bro. It was like in fuck. It was in the city in Lake Huron. Bala? No, not Bala. Was it Bala? No. Grand Bend, Ontario. It was retarded.
What caused the bad trip? Like what was like?
I don't fucking know, man. The setting was good. The setting was good. It was on the beach. We were jamming. We had all these cottages and like the crazy music and like, but we're pounding back the vodka hardcore and smoking back.
How much were you drinking?
Oh, bro, I've been drinking for days, man. What is how much? Fucking calculating? What are you talking about? This is a fucking bender, bro. It's like fucking long weekend bender at Grand Bend.
Never mind.
Fucking all in, bro. This is like this is comatose level.
All right. That explains it.
And then like 3 grams of the shroom tea and chug that shit back. And crazy, man. I locked myself in the closet. No, not the closet. I locked myself in the room size of a closet in a small little shitty cottage shack. And but I knew exactly what was going on. That was a cool thing. It's like, I know I'm tripping. I know what's going on. And then people showing up. I'm like, yo, just fuck off. Like, leave me alone. I need to buy time and and you know how I got through that one? I just laid down, looked at the ceiling, and I started breathing. And what saved me, believe it or not, during that trip, and this is why like shamans really know how to take you through the process. In the background, there was like a crazy club. The bass was coming, doom, 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 doom. And so basically, I was following the rhythm of the bass to try to put me in a meditative state, and it worked. Yeah, man, I followed the music. Like I incorporated the music into me, and I could feel the vibration of like doom, 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 and that rhythm, the rhythm of the beat, doom, doom, doom. It kind of saved me. Like it took me from like, yo, this is fucked to like, okay, I got this under control.
Give you some stability, some consistency, some sense of stability and comfort and rhythm. It was comforting, the rhythm. So you could hang on to that. You can hang on to this one thing in the universe that was stable and consistent and helped you kind of move through the experience.
Yep.
Yeah.
So you look at shamans, they have the music and the humming and the hymns. Like they take you through. They know what they need to do at the right time to take you through the process. Yeah,
it's ayahuasca shamans call it Icaros.
Icaros.
Right. The chanting and the music on any psychedelic experience, and I'm sure you can testify to this as well. On any psychedelic experience, it's the music is felt at a whole different level.
Fuck yeah. You get like music and psychedelics together. It's like
2 thumbs up. You know, it's a really cool thing. It's it can be life changing. Like you can connect with things much deeper and much more powerful than you ever could before. Right?
Yeah,
so,
man.
Recommend that shit.
Yeah, man. Cool. I think we're wrap it up there, man. I think we're doing this for like an hour and a half.
Great.
Yeah, man.
Great. That was fun.
This was fun. And quick shout out. If people want to get to know more about you and what you do and all that, best resource for them to reach you?
Yeah, so you can reach me on Instagram at Ramdas. And if you want to know about some of the work I've done, you can check out intelligentchange.com or search for the 5-Minute Journal. The 5-Minute Journal. It's essentially a toothbrush for your mind. We've sold over 500,000 copies. It's a really popular way to get your day, start your day, and end your day with a great feeling. We have Tim Ferriss and a lot of really great influential people using our product. And I wish you the best.
Awesome, brother. Appreciate it like always. Peace.
My pleasure. See ya.